You're listening to the One Step Deeper podcast with your host, Jimmy Moore and Brittany Davis. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.
Already flustered before coming on camera because 3 minutes before we started recording the podcast, I'm hearing this cat really loud. Sounds like it's underneath my house, and I see my cat going on. So I go and I'm like, that's kind of weird. I lost my younger cat the other day, and I was like, but that was 6 days ago. I just assumed she was gone. Oh, stop hissing. She just got back in the house. The two. I'm like, give her a break. She hasn't had food in 6 days. Anyway, I open up the little underground thing, and my tuxedo cat has like a watery eye, and she was pretty fat before, so she survived. But 6 days, no food, no water. I don't know what she ate or drank. I guess there might be mice down there that she might have ate. I don't know. She survived, so there she is there, little stinker. But anyway. She's going to have to recreate herself in some image that doesn't do that again, so Daddy doesn't worry about her.
Yes, exactly. I was shook because you texted me about it like right before we got on. I was like, oh my gosh, wow, I'm so glad you found her. But oh, poor baby, yes. Oh.
Yeah, I thought she was a goner because, she never goes away and never comes back. She's always plopped on the front porch, and so when she got, anyway. That's ancillary to what we're talking about here today, but it did just happen. Then we talk about real life here on One Step Deeper.
Yes.
So today we have a great topic in episode 20, recreating yourself when you don't really know who you are. And there's a lot of people, they don't know who they are, Brittany. They have no clue. And honestly, we're kind of digging deep, and we're going to do that here in a second after we introduce the show. But honestly, a lot of people, they don't want to know who they really are or be better or go one step deeper. They just don't want to do it.
Yeah, I think this whole creating yourself and versus finding yourself, and like you said, we'll get into the depths of it in here in a minute, but people are afraid to go one step deeper and afraid what they're going to uncover and afraid what's down in there. And that journey to find yourself, create yourself, it's a tough one.
It is. So guys, you're in the podcast called One Step Deeper. This is a video and audio podcast. You can watch us on video. We debut on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern time over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword, One Step Deeper, and you will find the show. So go check us out if you want to watch the video. Jimmy's not much to look at, but Brittany always has interesting outfits on. So. But if you're listening to the podcast, it means you made it on Monday. And we're available wherever podcasts are heard on Monday, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Alexa, all of the ways. I love having my device in my home play the podcast because it's kind of cool hearing it all throughout all the speakers all over the house. Kind of cool. And so that's how you access the audio. We also are on social media, so you can go check us out over on our Instagram page, One Step Deeper Podcast. We also put it on IGTV there, as well as on my personal page, Living Low Carb Man. But we also have One Step Deeper Podcast Community over on Facebook, so you can see the video there. It's everywhere. If you miss it, it's your fault, as I keep saying. So we put it up everywhere, and we try to make this very accessible. And as always, as Brittany always talks about, and I welcome it as well, reach out via DM. If you need somebody to talk to, I know Brittany is always open, Brittany Lee over on Instagram. That's 2 T's, A-N-Y, to spell her name. And then I'm at Living Low Carb Man. But yes, Brittany, this one today, recreating yourself, I think you and I have been doing this in our own lives.
Yeah.
Pretty hot and heavy for, well, as long as we've known each other, we've watched each other grow in this way. So let's go back to that flashpoint I was just talking about. Why don't people want to go there? Why do they instead seek to find themselves when they should be creating themselves?
So I think, wording can come across a little different here. I have a very strong stance on I do not believe that we are like destined to be like a certain thing or fated to be a certain way. I don't believe in fate as much as I believe in create. And I think that we have to create who we want to be. And it's not some journey across the rainbow of I'm going to find myself at the end of this. No, it's a chipping away at all of the things that you've been told and taught and pushed, everything that's been pushed on you, and you're chipping away at all of that and uncovering and creating this beautiful person that you want to be, that you aspire to be. But that's a difficult place to get, and people don't want to chip away those things because it literally becomes a part of who you are. When you're told how to think and told what to do and told to be this way, and when you're told and told, chipping away from that, it, like I said, it becomes a part of your identity, and so it feels like you're losing yourself, but actually you're creating yourself.
Yeah, we've talked about this on previous episodes, that especially kids that grow up in trauma and yelling and screaming is the norm as a kid, that they actually use yelling and screaming as an adult so that something feels normal, and when it's not that way, it can be traumatic all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. But I've taken this journey, several years ago, and I was like, you know what? I have been told a lot of things that I am, and I've been told the way that I am, and well, you're this and you're that, and I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel the way that people told me that I was. Read a great post. I saved it to my phone. I am a quotes person, and it said that the way that people perceive you is a reception of themselves. And I was like, oh, I needed to hear that. So
Yes.
The way that I was being perceived by other people, and they were pushing that on me as my identity, I had to realize that that's not my identity. That's not who I am. I am creating this version. If somebody feels some kind of way about who I'm creating myself to be, maybe they have some creating that they need to do, but they're not ready yet.
And this is such a good point. I'm glad this came up. You are the only person that gets to define who you are. If you let other people define who you are, they ain't got no business in that. It would be like somebody coming in your house and saying, okay, you need to do this, 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 and this, and this, and this is your problem. And you'd be like, who pays the bills? Who owns the deed to the house? Who the are you? Like, you're going to literally ask all these questions. So why do we accept that within like relationships with friends and family and other people in our lives? Why do we accept their view of us and their vision for us when we're the ones that put forth those things? Like, it's amazing how many other people dictate what happens in people's lives, and people are okay with that. You and me, we ain't so okay with that, but other people, they gladly give that up to someone else.
They do that because like there's this herd mentality that happens of I must be, yes, H-E-R-D, herd, where they attach themselves to this person who acts this way, says this thing, is this way, thinks this way, and they think in order to be accepted, they have to do the same things. Go ahead.
Could be HEARD mentality as well, because they're being heard, so that gives them validation. So it's a double entendre.
Yes, absolutely. But like within our relationship, I think about something that you pointed out to me today. I won't bring it up, but like we hold so polar opposite views on the thing we were talking about, but still we were calm and collected and able to talk about it. You were able to respect where I was, and that kind of goes into a previous episode. But people are so just, I'm going to attach to this feeling, and I'm not trying to create myself. I'm not trying to be outside of the norm here. I don't, I want people to accept me, and so they marry themselves to some ideal or some thing that they're attaching to.
Well, and the most challenging part of creating yourself when you don't really know what you believe is letting go of those things you think you believe. This has been the hardest part for me, and you've been there with me along my journey as I'm going, oh, wait a minute, I have always believed about something X, and you're like, all right, why do you believe that? Okay, so this is the rationale, da-da-da-da-da-da. All right, but why do you believe that? How did that get instilled? But why, as we've talked about before. And when you kind of go down that but why, it kind of makes you really kind of go, what do I believe? And it's not to say you shouldn't have foundational beliefs that ground you. You should. But sometimes you believe, but you have no idea why you believe. You believed in the belief that you believed.
Yes. So a little funny little story. I was sitting on my brand new couch, my brand new house, and my dog wanted to jump on. He was allowed on the couch at my last house, but I got here and I was like, no, you can't get on the couch. And I just kept telling him, no, you can't get on the couch. And I know that confused him and his dog brain, like, but why? It's the couch. I'm always allowed on the couch. And one day I was like, why am I not letting him on the couch? Well, it was because when I was a kid, my parents didn't let the animals on the couch. And I got to thinking, do I really care if my dog is on the couch? The answer is no. I love my dog. So why don't you sit up here and let me pet on you? And so that's one of those crazy things where I'm like, why do I believe that? Why do I think this is the best way? There's a funny story, and I wish I knew who told the story, where she had cut off a section of the ham, and she was like, I've always done it this way because my grandma did it this way. And what it was because she didn't have a pan big enough. Was that you?
I told you that story.
Yes. I was like, I don't know why I do this. It's just what my grandma always did. Well, she did it because she didn't have a big enough pan, or the oven wasn't big enough to put it in there. Why? It just makes so much sense when you view it that way.
And it got passed down and passed down and passed down to the point that it's just the way things are. And we're at the point now where norms are being challenged in some areas. And I think this is where some of the conflict is happening, where people are holding on so strongly to beliefs that really weren't grounded on anything other than tradition. And not that I'm anti-tradition, but some traditions need to be broken. Some traditions need to be challenged and reevaluated. Is it still serving us well? And so, we're having kind of that existential crisis as a culture right now, along with individually.
Yes. And, going back to that idea of creating yourself and mine and your journey in particular, a couple of years ago, I threw it all away. I was like, my mind got blown in one area of my life. And I was like, oh my gosh, I believe this because XYZ. And I was like, whoa, I am who I am because other people told me how to believe. And I just believe what they told me to believe. And I'm like, that's not really okay with me anymore. I want to know what my values are. What are my values? What do I want for my life? And when I asked that question, I just kind of went above and beyond what you probably could do in this situation. I was just like, throw it all away, starting over. I am a newborn. Let me find the things and create who I want to be by pulling this thing and just chipping at all of the shit that had been piled on me my whole life, just chipping away to create Brittany Lee.
We get into that a little bit because this is a fascinating story, what you've done, and I've done similar, maybe not thrown it all away. You know what I did? I kind of went, all right, what's not serving me well? Throw that away. Yeah. And then slowly, I want to hang on to that. Okay. And I've kicked and screamed on some of them. And then others of them, I'm still kind of going, all right, everything is suspect. Everything I'm kind of giving a side eye to and going, all right, why do I believe you? All right. Yeah. I mean, you just kind of look at life that way. The way you did it was kind of interesting. What did that look like when you threw everything away at that moment? What'd you believe in? What grounded you?
Me. Is that bad?
No, your individuality. Is that what you mean by me?
Yeah. When I threw everything away, I was like, I have become this person. I am this person because people told me that my trauma defined me. People told me that living in a small town, I was expected to stay there and I never get out of it because that's just what you do. And I was told I would never be financially stable because of where I came from. And I was told that, I just have to accept certain family members the way they are because that's your family. And it's these are just a couple of things that I was like, no, screw all this. No, thank you. And so I threw it all away and I'm sitting in myself and I have no idea who I am because I am a culmination of everything that everybody told me to be. But who do I want to be? What do I want? And I think I told this story about going to college, and now I had zero desire to go to college. Didn't want to, didn't care, did not want to go. Glad I did, but I didn't want to go. And I hated every minute of it. And I quit. I didn't finish because I didn't want to. But when I go back to why did I do that, it was because someone told me to. And so when I threw everything away, I was like, I literally asked myself the most basic of questions. What do I want? What do I believe? And I just started picking one by one by one, everything that anybody had ever told me or taught to me. I did this with my religion. I did this with every single thing. What has been told to me? Do I actually believe this? And if I do, is there any nuances in there that I need to throw away?
So you started creating yourself so you could find who you are.
Yes, exactly.
You know how rare that is, Brittany? You know how many people do what you did? I'm going to say exactly zero. Like, I know many people that throw it all out and start from square one at creating themselves. So you're kind of a rarity. I think most people, if they're going to make changes, they do kind of what I did. It's a little bit of piecemeal here, piecemeal there. Throwing it all out can throw some people into an existential crisis of who they are. What you had going for you was confidence that you were a remarkable woman who was not defined by all those things you were told you were. And so you knew who you were at your core. You just needed to discover, all right, how does that manifest in religion? How does that manifest in my political views? How does that manifest in my relationships? So you threw it all out and said, okay, first things first, then this, and you're still doing it. Like, even to this day, some of our conversations are surrounding those things you're not quite fully there yet, where what you believe and why you believe it.
Easter morning, y'all. I was upset on the phone with Jimmy on Easter morning because I am still doing this work, and I'm not concrete in anything when it comes to that part of my life. There's nothing concrete there. I'm still uncovering that section, but I have uncovered my relationship. I went through parenting and whoa, man, I got to unlearn some things there. And I went through my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my friends. I had to see some people out. Some people got thrown out too. And I know how harsh that sounds, but you are who you put yourself around. Like, that's just the truth. And sometimes I just noticed some people who were just bringing me down, and I wasn't strong enough in myself and in my beliefs and who I was yet to be around anybody else. And now I purposely put myself around other people that don't think like me and look like me and talk like me because I want to grow. I don't want to attach myself to somebody else who thinks like I do. By the way, I don't think there is anyone out there that thinks like I do.
No, you are quite the snowflake, and not in the negative term wise. You're the uniqueness of you're Bigfoot in psychological health.
Yeah, I am definitely the Bigfoot. I think about all the big name people who are out there and doing their thing, and I even wrote a post about it this week. They always tell you what? Be thankful for your trauma. Be grateful because it made you who you are. And I was like, screw that. I have zero gratitude for what happened to me. Okay? No, it was not some gift for me to open. And so that's just part of that. I read other people and I examine. I'm like, maybe I should be thankful for that. And I'm like, no, that's gross. Not doing that.
So I want to bring up a point, because as I started doing some of the change in my own life, there's just people that, well, I don't like the way you've changed, and I always say thank you, and they're like, well, you're not the way I want to see you, and I'm like, and that's my problem. Why? Like, this recreating and creating the version of yourself where you don't really know who you are, it's not about other people. And you're going to lose friends. You're going to lose relationships. I lost 3/4 of the people I had in my life last year. 3/4. Now, I don't see it as a loss. I see it as a gain. I let go of the dead weight. I picked up some amazing people. You were already in my life, but I picked up other people. And I have several, there's nobody like Brittany, as you noted, but I have several others that I can rely on when Brittany's not always around. that I can contact and are trusted, but it's few. It's few confidant. I trust you more than anybody in the world, but I have a few others that I'm almost there with them as well. That I would literally put them in that category. But it's like that many.
Yeah, same.
And by design, you don't want too many of those people. But that's part of recreating yourself and creating this version of who you are, that you need kind of that support. I don't think if I didn't have you in my life, I would have progressed along that path. And you might say the same thing about my presence in your life, and of course your husband's presence in your life. It helps to kind of bounce things off of someone who understands and cares about you, even if they disagree. And we do disagree a lot on things. And that's okay. I don't mind disagreeing with you, but it's never in malice.
Yes, exactly. And I would caution people. I'm not saying throw people out of your life, but if this is something a journey that you want to embark on of creating this version of yourself, you need to be extra careful every time you uncover something new and it's different than what you thought you should be or could be or what other people told you. And that might affect a certain relationship. So when I began like really uncovering religion and where I stand within religion, I had to be uber careful with talking to people that I used to connect with very closely. I had to keep some of that to myself, and it just naturally happened that I distanced myself from them because of that. Their identity was so hooked in this thing, I had to step away. And so I'm not saying you have to like cut out all of your friends, but just as Jimmy was saying, I have lost friends over this. I've lost family over this journey.
Yeah, the aptness for them to leave you than you leave them is very high, because you kind of want people to see and appreciate the new you that you've created for yourself, but they only want to remember who you were. I can't control that people want to put me in that little box of what other people had told me I was supposed to be. I wanted to be me, and I've made major decisions in my life the past few years that have kind of underscored that. Okay, I did this because I had to get in a place where I could become James William, to kind of steal your becoming Brittany Lee. I wanted to become James William more and more, but I couldn't have done that if I'd stayed in the box that they had put me in, that kept me in various situations where I would never have grown. I would have still been living someone else's life. I would never have become and created the real me. I like me where I am now.
Yeah, you were talking about a box, and I just had this visual image of me and you like in this small box, and we just broke out. And when we did that, like all of those negative things just went with us as we open our arms and just stretch like a newborn baby. We just pull this big stretch of, oh my gosh, I have room now. I have room to accept whatever I want to accept. And I don't have to think this way. I don't have to believe this way because my parents do, or my friend does, or my spouse does. I don't have to view the world this way. I can do and be who I want to. If I want to be thick, and be thick, and I don't want to conform to social norms of thin is healthy and thin is the best way to be, let me be thick, and I don't care what anybody says about it. You know what I'm saying? That was just a funny little thing thrown in there.
No, that's great. I love the insidious nature of this is people in the midst of kind of being in that box and not breaking out yet, and not knowing that they need to create themselves. They have no idea. They have no idea. I'm 49 years old now. Most of my life, I have lived in that box, doing the dictates of this is who you are, this is what you are, this is what you're supposed to do. Be a good little boy and stay in this little box. And if you go outside the parameters, we're going to shove you back in that box again. And I never noticed it until the last couple of years. But once I noticed it, I couldn't unsee it, which then made me want to, all right, this part of my life sucks. What other part? So I was tempted at that point, like you, throw it all out. I didn't. I threw a lot of it out. I kind of like let go of things that I thought I was supposed to do. Again, boxes. Again, being told what to do. And now I live pretty authentically me. Still have areas to work on. We all do. and will probably work on them for the rest of my life. But you become a better human when you take action of creating yourself rather than flailing in, I don't know who I am, or I'm what other people want me to be.
I think that's so sad when I hear somebody say, I don't know who I am. Like, that's so sad to me. And I mean, I've been there and I've been so deep that I didn't know who I was, but I don't think people realize that when they say, I don't know who I am, it's them saying, I know that I'm not who I want to be. I'm what
Yes.
everybody else wants me to be. So I
Yeah.
don't know who I am.
I see it as a great sign that the awakening's happening, because if you don't know who you are, it means you're uncomfortable. And if you're uncomfortable, you're stuck between that fake world of what other people want and the real world you want to be. And you're in that middle of going, okay, which way do I go, George? And it's amazing because there's so many people that live right there. A lot of people, they live full bore. I don't care. This is who I am. Deal with me. I'm going to believe what I believe and I'll never change. If you believe the opposite of me, you're an idiot. We have way too many people that live their lives that way. Very few say, you know what? I'm going to create myself and be the person I want to. And I don't have to doubt who I am. I know fully who I am.
I think the word uncomfortable and being in a state of uncomfortable makes you do something that gets you on this path. It makes you question. Questions are not bad things. Ask the questions, ask the hard ones. And so when you're uncomfortable, start with the most simple. Why am I uncomfortable? What about this makes me uncomfortable? I tell people to do this with their triggers. When I get triggered, I immediately ask, okay, can I identify what is triggering me right now? What is this trigger? Where did it come from? Can I calm this by doing such and such? And this is this whole one step deeper. This is literally where this was born from, was you ask the most simple question and you just go deeper and deeper and deeper. And so being uncomfortable, that's step one. That is step one. I am uncomfortable. Something needs to happen. Something needs to change. Are you willing to push back into that comfort level to not have to do the work, or are you going to keep pushing and do the work?
You can't create yourself until you get yourself in that uncomfortable place. That's literally step one of changing. Step one of, again, not recommended what Brittany did, throwing it all out and starting from the scratch. But by the way, talk about that process. I mean, you said it was like a 3-year journey, that 3 years ago you kind of threw everything out. How long before you kind of felt this, and you're still working on it, so I'm not trying to say you've arrived, but how long before you felt, okay, now I'm a little more firm of where I am, who I am. I don't have to kind of doubt that. You're still working on various aspects. Like you said, Easter Sunday, you and I talked for an hour on the phone. How long before you kind of got to this point where you felt like you were a little solid in the new recreated version of Brittany?
I wish I could give you a strong date, but I will say, if you scroll back on my Instagram feed, there is a new post that happened way back that said I was changing my name, which was Real Food, Real Life,
I remember.
to becoming Brittany Lee. And I remember
Right.
having a conversation with you. I was so attached to Real Food, Real Life because it was a part of who I was. But I had learned so much and grew so much and uncovered so much, it didn't fit who I was anymore.
Right. Well, before that, you were Keto Glow, so it was like, yeah. You had the transformation, but you're right. Becoming that Brittany Lee has served you well, and so that was kind of the flashpoint of, you're like, all right, this is where I'm going. That would have been, wow, that would have been like a year and a half ish ago, just over a year and a half ago. So about a year and almost a half into your throwing it all away and rebuilding.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird in that period of time of still not knowing who you are, still kind of going down that journey of discovering and creating yourself. Like, what did you tackle first?
Parenting.
Yes.
Parenting.
Yes.
Parenting was the first thing. Yes. Something about having children, for me, they are, oh God, I hate saying it this way, but like, they are my legacy. Like, what I pass on to them says more about me than it does about them. And I've learned this. And in parenting, when I started parenting my kids differently, it made me look at how I was parented. And so
Yeah.
it was a double-edged thing where, oh my gosh, I probably shouldn't parent my kids this way. That's probably pretty toxic. And matter of fact, I saw that as pretty toxic. Let me learn and move through. So everybody knows that I gentle parented, then that's what I do. Well, when I very first started, I couldn't let go of one thing in gentle parenting, and that is the fact that you don't use punishments or rewards. And I couldn't let go of that. I was just like, that doesn't make sense to me. So I did everything else that gentle parenting teaches until very recently, where I was like, all right, I'm ready. Let's throw it out. No more punishments, no more consequences, no more rewards, none of that. And that's a new part of that. So I've like kind of gone back even to, all right, I did parenting, then I did politics, then I did religion. Oh, not ready for that one. Back to this one. And we're going to skip. We're going to hit that one a little later. And religion is the biggest one for me, where I kind of tip in for a second and I'm like, yeah, all right, something else. But yeah, it's just this, I just swing and I learn. I love Google. We have so much knowledge right at our hands and like right at our fingertips that if we have a question, we can go find it. Like, I really feel that's the truth. And even within ourselves, I feel so strongly that I have the answers within myself. I know. I just have to ask the questions.
By the way, that legacy will play itself out with your girls when they all grow up, they all get married, they all have kids, and they say, now, Grandma taught me this. Grandma, and you'll be this revered person in your family that I have this vision of you being like 65, 70 years old, and you've got the great grandchildren of your grandchildren. This is the great Grandma Brittany, and she's a treasure, and she started it all and told the stories about how she didn't have a great childhood, but she was going to beat that. That's going to be your legacy someday because you decided to create yourself in that way.
Yes, I gave a big FU to everything that I'm supposed to be and said, nah, I'm going to be who I want to be. I'm going to be this version of Brittany Lee that I create. And really, since I shifted into that becoming Brittany Lee, everything has lightning speed began to change, because I got to the place up until that point. I was still holding on to these things, and it was always a sadness when I would uncover something. And now my mind is just completely open. I'm an open book. Whatever you got, let me hear it. And I'm no longer scared to hear a view outside of my own. I have no fear around hearing somebody else's point of view and re-examining my own view to ensure that, yes, this is how I feel. Or, interesting. Let me uncover that a little bit more.
We had a tit for tat like that just this morning. We talked on the phone, and there was something I brought up that you didn't know about. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, let me see. And then you're like, I kind of agree with this. I said, yeah, I thought you would. That's why I wanted to bring it to your attention. But then I was like, what about this and how it's viewed? And you're like, yeah, that can be a problem. But what about this? And da-da-da. And I was like, okay, it's like you and I, we need to teach the world how you get along when you don't agree.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like we've done that. But this is all part of creating yourself becomes your lifestyle. It's become my lifestyle that I am willing to hear other people out and chip away at those things.
It's just the way I am. Creating yourself is a big old middle finger to all that. No way that you are is unmalleable. You can change. You can make yourself into anything you want to be. You want to be an a-hole, you're going to be one. You want to be a kind, giving, generous person, you're going to be one. Like, we have to stop pretending like there's an inevitability of who we are as people, and to start creating ourselves, and especially trying to figure out what your identity is. I refuse to go through life trying to be something I'm not just to appease other people. I say things, I do things that I know some people don't like. Oh well, Jimmy Moore likes it. I'm okay with that.
We have hit I look at all of the big people who have changed lives, the past people, huge people. What did they do? They questioned. They questioned their right here of, I am not going to fit in this box. I am going to break all of the molds. I am going to create who I am. I do not believe that I am inevitable, that I was born to be this person. I don't believe that I was born to go through trauma. I don't believe that I was born to be who I am today. I believe that I used everything that happened to me to create this version. I shoveled the shit over my shoulder of what was given to me, and I said I will not lay down in the inevitability that I'm just supposed to lay here and be bitter about what happened to me. I don't accept that. I'm going to rise above. And for a long time, that was my why. My why in life that I anchored to was, I will rise. And that's kind of molded as I've changed through the years. But that's always been me. I will take what I'm handed and I will make something of it. I'm not going to lay down and just accept that this is my life. I didn't lay down and accept, oh, I'm going to grow up in a small town and my kids are going to grow up in a small town because I was born here. Hell no. I got the hell out of there. And it's the best thing I ever did for myself. I'm not going to lay down and think, oh, let me just, marry such and such or be with such and such. No, I have a man who loves me, and both of us, we agreed when we got married that we are always growing together. If you're growing, I'm growing. I'm gonna push you, you're gonna push me. We're gonna do this journey together. And whenever life gets hard, we're attaching to each other and we're gonna keep going on this ride. But I've always been I gotta better this kind of person. A little bit of my personality hangs in there with being an Enneagram 1, but I've just always been, I'm going to be better. I have to do better. I'm going to push myself. I am not laying down and being people that are in my life. I can see them right now. The people that just have accepted that, well, this happened to me, so I'm going to be angry. And this happened to me, and I'm just going to lay down, and this is who I am. And ew. I don't like the people, like you've said several times, that are just like, well, this is just how I am. Well, because I want to be like, did you know you could change that? Did you realize that you don't have to be that way? Because you can. And that's why a lot of people don't like me, Jimmy, because I call that out in them. Oops.
How could they not like you? You're one of the most likable people, but you don't coddle people. You don't kind of tell them what they want to hear. So it does kind of make you a little more contentious in people's minds. I'm trying to remember the first time you and I were talking, we flowed well, I think because I was ready to be challenged when you came in my life. And then as it got stronger and stronger, our friendship, you're like, all right, I'm going to push the envelope on this boy and see if he can handle it. All right, how about this? And I'm like, okay. And it was good. And now today I'm like, you still couch it. The other day you were talking to me and it's like, I didn't want to. I said, just let me have it. Go talk. And you did. I want to hear.
Jimmy always talks about it. Like, I have this ability to like stab somebody, and it happens so fast they don't even know it's happening. Like, they don't even know they're bleeding until a little bit later. They're like, I don't know how I feel about that. I just have this ability of like cutting people, and I'm not like in a malice way or a harmful way. Just like if I have somebody over to the house and they start talking about their patterns, I immediately see it. I'm like, oh, so you must be that way because your parents never gave you the opportunity to make choices, and so now you're very uncomfortable with making choices. And they're like, where did that come from?
Yeah, you told that story a couple of weeks ago on this show. I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if they did a movie where they took someone and they put them through like 6 scenarios of life? Would they turn out the same? And I would argue they wouldn't. Now, sometimes they'll do these movies where they separate twins at birth and one grows up in affluent and one grows up poor. But then they come back together. This is a Hollywood ending. They come back together. Oh, they're siblings forever and they're the same. No, I don't think they would be. I think environment totally impacts how you create yourself. If you grew up in a small town, piss poor, had baby and supporting 2 kids in your house on an income of, do very well versus somebody that grew with a silver spoon in their butt and got everything they wanted and had no appreciate. How would those two people be the same?
It depends on if they're willing to attack all the things that they've been told. It's on that willingness. And I was even going to push back of, what about the children who are raised in the same household, in the same environment, but react to it differently?
Yes.
Sorry about that one. That one probably hurt you a little bit. Anybody who's listening, sorry about that one.
Or hurt them. Yes. I was like, didn't hurt me. I agree. In fact, I have examples in my head that popped in. As soon as you said that, I know there's two siblings with the adults, and one sibling is the diametric opposite of the other. And the one takes things in stride. The other one makes a big deal about everything.
I have 8 siblings, so I can kind of like have the unlimited area where I can look in on other people and see how we all have turned out so differently with the same environment, or arguably the same environment. So I think I have a really big pool to pick from.
Well, and your 3 daughters are incredibly unique. All of them have very specific personality traits and how they view the world, how they handle stress. Like you told me about, Cammie is the adventurous one, and Darcy is the one that goes and hides and is okay by herself. Hey, your little one, she's Alma Grace. She's just a trip. She's going to be your comedian, by the way. I think she's going to tell that story, what she said to you this week about the oxytocin.
Y'all, I have been telling this story to everybody because it just lights my unschooling heart up. And this will kind of transition me into what I wanted to say about my kids and what I'm doing there. Okay, but first, the Alma Grace story. So we were watching this TV show, and it was teaching how dogs can give humans like an oxytocin hit, like when you see your dog, and they get it too. And so they were also talking about how hugs give you oxytocin. And of course, it's like, what's oxytocin? And I'll tell them it's the happy hormone. It makes me feel good. I was like, come give me some hugs. And we're like, oh, it's oxytocin. And my youngest is 3. She comes down 3. She comes down the stairs early in the morning, still rubbing her eyes. I was like, good morning, babe. What do you need? Well, can I have some oxytocin? And I'm just melted. I was so excited that my 3-year-old remembered, like, it made an impact. And now that's all she does. All morning long when I was in here working, she was knocking on the door. Mom, can I have some oxytocin?
And how can you turn that down, right?
Exactly. How do you tell a 3-year-old asking for oxytocin down? How do you do that? Oh, but that moves me into talking about what I'm doing with my kids, and something that I feel like parents can do with their kids. Realize that you weren't given the opportunity to create who you were. You had these ideals and things pushed on you your entire life. I refuse to do that with my kids. I have gone through this path myself. I don't want my kids to get to 27 or 25, 26 like I did and have to like uncover all of these things like, oh my gosh, I only believe this because mom told me to. No, I want them to have their own. And now, yes, you have to guide your children a little bit more because they don't know. But my 8-year-old loves to get on the computer and learn about Canva. So we've been doing all of our learning and all of our instruction, our reading. Well, we read what the computer says to do about the programming. And I just let them create this life that they want. And I ask them, hey, how are you feeling today? Do you actually believe this? Do you think this is true? Or when they're down on themselves, I'm like, do you really believe that about yourself? Or did someone tell you to believe that way about you? And so anyway, do this with your kids. Give them the opportunity to create them. And don't wait till they're 18 to go, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think about how creative I am in the work I get to do, and that I always had the creativity. It wasn't living La Vida Low Carb that started that creativity. I had it when I was a kid. I mean, my mom used to always talk about how I had these ideas and I would express them. And then all through even my abuse with my dad, I was always thinking of things. In fact, one of my class assignments in the 9th grade, it was right before I went to go live with my dad. I was still in Florida living with my mom. It was ninth grade English, and we were reading Beowulf, and we were reading the Odyssey and the Iliad and all that. And so Odysseus was the main character. And I got this idea because we had to do some project around the Odyssey. I got this idea. Let me play like I'm old man Odysseus, like being interviewed. And so I would interview, before I was a podcaster, many years before. So Odysseus, tell us what it was like to da-da-da. Yeah, back in the day, and I just did this on a tape recorder. In the 80s, it was a tape recorder. You had to press record, play at the same time. And she played it for the class. Like the first 5 minutes, I got an A+ for creativity, and it was good content, and it kind of recapped the book and everything. And she was like, "That's creative." And I remember I was like, "Whoa, is that who I am? Am I creative?" But I had to keep doubting it because I was being told by all these others, "No, this is what you are. This is what you are. This is what you are." But it wasn't until I broke free from that 17 years ago and said, well, I lost weight on the Atkins diet. I think I want to try to make something of this. I'm going to go for it because I believe in me and creating who I am. And I did. And I went and created, and now I'm a name in the keto space because I took that chance of creating myself in that way. And now I'm doing it all over again, creating myself both personally and even shifting a little bit professionally with some of the projects I'm going to be working on moving forward. It's a constant process. You don't just recreate yourself, find out who you are, and then that's it. No, you're constantly creating, refining based on stimuli. Like you're going through the religion thing right now. I'm doing some of that work as well. It just takes that methodicalness of still continually pursuing that always.
Yes, I just felt everything that you were saying, like so much. I'm just like, yes, yep, all of that. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so it's this is such an important topic, and I'm glad we were able to hit it here today because it is a scary proposition. If you've never embarked on trying to create yourself, I think there's a lot of people that are completely fine with the world coming to them, the world putting them in that box, but even more than the box, the world coming to them. And a point you and I talked about with the find yourself versus create yourself. Find yourself, people think, oh, the perfection is deep within. And I do think there's an element of who you are in kind of that creative. Jimmy was always creative. I didn't have to create that. It was in me. I did need to have some external forces come around to kind of feed into me to give me that belief in myself that then I could find that place from within. I think it's a mix of both inward who you are and outward forces that kind of influence that to awaken you to the realization that that's who you are.
I think that's a great point. And looking back, I could say the same thing. So in seventh grade and 8th grade, I was in this club called Future City, and I loved it so much. You literally build the city and all. Oh my gosh, I just loved it so much. Well, part of my 8th grade year when I was doing this was we had to present it, and so I was on the presenting team, and I came up with the idea that we were going to present our team and our thing by a talk show host. That was me. I was the talk show host, and I was interviewing.
I've got to hear the talk show voice. Go.
Oh, man. I don't know if I could pull that out right now. I was trying to mock Oprah. Not mock. Be like Oprah. Like I had watched and like
you're a winner and you're a winner.
I was trying to like channel my inner Oprah when I was doing this. I'd like watched all of her videos to just see how she was, and I was interviewing them, and I loved it. I got so much excitement out of it. Then later on, when I was in high school, I moved high schools, and so they just shoved me in one of those classes that they put you in, and it was speech and debate. And I got in there, and I'm like, I love this. I went to competitions, and I had a duo partner, and we did all these impromptu things, and I was like, I have always been a speaker. It's always been in there. I've always been a podcaster. I just needed somebody that has done this to be like, come on, let's do this, Brittany. And so, yeah, I agree. It was always in there. It was always there. I just needed a little bit of influence and molding and creating when I realized, hey, I do want to be a podcaster. So ask myself the question, how do I get there? How do I create that version of me? How do I create that as a part of who I am? And then I went after it.
And you were there long before you and I started this show in December. You were already there.
Yeah.
Just on the many hours of conversations you and I had on the phone, I'm like, oh yeah, she's ready. And you also have lots of talents in other areas that we're soon going to realize as well. Stay tuned, guys. That's a little tease. So
that's my best emoji face,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The podcast listeners are going, I'm sorry, what faces are they making at us?
Half a wink and the tongue sticking out.
Yes, exactly. Well, is there anything else we've left out? I think we pretty much have hit creating yourself. And I think the bottom line with what we communicated here is don't settle for where you are. Number one, if you're not happy with where you are, if you don't feel like you're living authentically who you are, like Brittany and I, we're not about fake. We're about being who you are 100%. And if you don't know who you are, create yourself. Like that's what we're trying to say is you don't have to be complacent with wherever you are in your life. And some people go, well, the world's so down on me. I'm like, that's your fault. That's your fault. The world doesn't have to be down on you if you create yourself to be someone with gratitude and happiness and all the things that bring you to that level of consciousness that you can be more than you are right now.
Yes, and I just wanted to leave everybody with those questions of start. I would definitely suggest doing more of Jimmy's style of this, of creating yourself than I have. Don't, unless you're just like ready, don't throw it all out. That's rough. But like ask yourself the question, the most basic of questions. What do I want? Who do I want to be? And then answer that question. Let's just say I want to be an author. Okay. Then ask yourself another question. What do I have to do to get there? And so you're creating yourself by, I want to be an author. This is the end goal. I want to create this version of me. And you kind of backtrack of how do I get there? Okay, well, I need to do this. I need to do this. And it will eventually like create this version of yourself. So make sure you ask those questions. Same thing with like weight loss. I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, well, I have to know how to do that. Like, how do I lose 10 pounds? What's going to get me there? And does that mean I get up earlier so I can get a workout in before I go to work? Does that mean I change my eating style? Does it mean I drink more water? What does that look like? And so these are the things to take you on this journey of creating yourself, of what does that thing that I want, what is that going to require of me to get to that point?
And on the author thing, can I write? Do I know how to put words together that communicate? Do I have a style? Do I know people that have written books and I can pick their brain and learn like how they do things? Or can I be willing to maybe forge my own path? That's what I did, by the way. When I first started writing books, I didn't know anything about writing books. I just started writing and did my own style and came up with my own things. And it served me well. But then other people, they're like, all right, they think they want to create themselves in that way and they can't write. It's okay. Like you could have a dream of something you want to create yourself, but if you don't have the basic abilities to do the thing you want to do, like I would love to go dunk a basketball. It ain't gonna happen.
Shut up, man.
Billy.
Shut up!
Billy, listen to me.
What?
White men can't jump.
I'm a tall boy, but I'm a big boy, and I'm not going to be able to dunk a basketball. But I'm okay with that because I'm good at it. And I created myself to be good at other things.
Yes, absolutely. That was a great analogy there to use that. That is great.
Well, guys, that's it for episode 20 of the One Step Deeper podcast. Creating yourself when you really don't know who you are. And hopefully we've given you some good examples and tools about how you can go about doing that. You want to finish the show?
Sure. Check us out and make sure you are there on Sundays on YouTube at 4 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And all the episodes will preview there. The next day on Mondays, you can find the audio on Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere that you look, Apple. Let me not forget that one. You can find it anywhere you listen to your podcast. Over on Facebook, you can find us at One Step Deeper Facebook community. We post all the episodes there as well. And then over on Instagram, One Step Deeper Podcast over on Instagram. Again, all of the episodes are there as well. And lastly, but definitely not least, the One Step Deeper Podcast, onestepdeeperpodcast.com. And again, everything is over there. And you can message us if you have any questions or have any topics for us that you want us to talk about. Please head over to the website and send us some information of what you want to hear us chat about. We're always down for talking. How about that?
Absolutely. And go follow Brittany over on Instagram, becoming.Brittany, Brittany, Lee is her username. I'm Living Low Carb Man over there. Also posted it over on Living Low Carb Man. We get a lot of views on the Living Low Carb Man page. I'm like, all right, that's where people know my stuff. So that's where we get it out there. But the Facebook one has grown and the podcast keeps growing. Thank you guys on the podcast as well. Go leave us a review. If you like the show, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, leave a review. That's how young podcasts start to grow and build and get out there some more. And spread the links. Like, we've got links, like I say, everywhere online. Pass them on. Feel free to post them on your pages. Definitely help us get the word out. We think we have a pretty unique show here, and we would love to have you help spread the love. But guys, Brittany and I, we're not ready to share yet, but we're working on a top secret project that she and I are very, very excited about. Cannot wait to tell you about. Let's just say, if you like the One Step Deeper podcast, this project is going to be something you're going to not want to miss. So that's your tease. It's going to be a few months. Let us kind of work through all the things we're working on, but that's your tease for now. We haven't teased it yet, so why not this week, Brittany?
Oh, absolutely, because we are creating something. And so
Yeah,
yeah,
we are
tease it a little
definitely
bit.
kicked into high gear creating. So, well, Brittany, thank you so much. Guys, we'll see you again next week.
One Step Deeper Podcast.com.